Chris.
Yes.
I'm glad that you're here. Finally, I was able to get you.
Yep.
I know that you're always traveling around. So, Chris, tell us a few words about you, who you are here at Master Services, what you do.
Yeah. So I've been with Master Services for 8 years now. Started off in the service department where I was a service technician, go out and service jobs that we had installed and just make sure the customer's taken care of. It's service after the sale. That's what it's all about. So
Okay.
I did that for a year and then worked on some other projects within the company and then went into sales, I guess, for all services it's probably been about 6.5 years ago. So been there ever since. Been with the company for 8 years total.
8 years total. Okay. Now, I heard that you are very good with like talking, and we had a little intro before this.
Right.
So, what is the part that you like the most about being at Master Services in relation to your talent and what you like to do in communicating?
Yeah. Well, obviously, anytime you're in a position to be able to talk and you like to talk, that always works well together. So I do like talk. I do like to talk. Also like helping people and interacting with homeowners and finding out what their problems are, how I can make their life better, how I can be there to improve their lifestyle, their quality of life, or whatever trouble it is that they're having. I used to be in the tile industry years ago and did a lot of tile installation. And it was just a natural transition coming to work for Master Services because with the tile industry, I'm always in people's homes. I'm fixing a problem that they have. I'm taking something that they're not happy with and making it into something that they are happy with. Or we're constructing something out of nothing. And so, plus the pride in seeing the homeowner excited and happy about what we did. Once I came to Master Services, it was a natural transition because it's almost like the same thing. I'm still working with homeowners. I'm still discovering what they're not happy with their home and how we can do whatever we do to make them happy with their home and be excited about it. So yeah, it's been a natural transformation from that to this, and I love it. The culture here is fantastic, of course. Most of the guys that come work here can't believe the culture because they've never experienced anything like it.
Yes, and
so
I can totally second that. Not to brag about it, but it's true. We are definitely a unique breed. I would say. Now, today it's our first pilot on this podcast. Yep. And because the weather, we're in Knoxville, Tennessee, and the weather is getting warmer and warmer.
Yes.
We had some concerns from some of our homeowners about the concrete and the interaction between this change of humidity and temperature with concrete, especially the relationship with swimming pool.
Yes. So we're getting a lot of calls right now, mostly from swimming pool owners. Well, it's that time of the year, so people are starting to use their pools again. They're uncovering them and that sort of thing. What we're finding, and I've been in the poly division for almost 6 years now, is that during these hot seasons, of course, especially in this part of the country, the clay soil is highly susceptible to temperature changes and environmental changes. So clay can lose up to 30% of its mass during a time of drought. When that happens, it shrinks up, it creates fissures in the ground. Those fissures collapse upon themselves. And so we have a tremendous amount of soil movement in this part of the country, mostly because of the clay. Other places in the country have that as well, but just at different rates, a different kind of substrates. Here, it's the clay. So what happens is every time that soil goes through this process of shrinkage and expansion, once the rains come back, it reswells, but it doesn't reswell vertically, it reswells horizontally. So it goes through a process of shrink, settle, expand, shrink, settle, expand. When it does that, whatever's on top of that soil goes with it. So since most pools are built with fill dirt, fill moves way more than regular, non-transformed soil. So any soil that's just virgin soil that's never been graded or anything like that, it still has a minimal amount of movement, but backfill soil against homes, pool decking and that sort of thing has a tremendous amount of movement. Plus you've got all that water that once the pool gets getting used, then it splashes the water all over the place. It gets into the soil loses its compressive strength, so it begins to settle. So we see a tremendous amount of pool deck settlement especially this time of year, because of course, like I said, people are uncovering their pools for the first time. They're looking at the decking, and now they're seeing tripping hazards because most pools have these sections or control joints all around the pool. Since those particular sections settle at different rates, it's what we call in the industry differential settlement. So one section will settle more than another, and so you wind up with a lip. So you can imagine a 5-year-old kid running around a pool and tripping on one of these sections and face planting in the concrete. Doesn't make for a good day.
No, I mean, it doesn't for sure. So I never actually thought about the pool literally sinking.
Yep.
In a way, it reminds me somehow of the issues that we deal at different times towards the full-fledged homes.
Yes.
Like the foundations, because it reminds me a little bit of this. Now, have you seen any kind of a hydrostatic pressure actually putting pressure, like the humidity of the water, putting pressure inside the pool?
That can be in some cases. It's rare for that to happen as far as actually damaging the pool, that sort of thing. Most of the time, what we see is the pool decks or patios around the pools and that sort of thing settling, again, because it's setting on fill dirt. We actually get a lot of pool liner companies advising their homeowners to call us to have them fix the pool deck, because this time of year, a lot of folks are opening up their pools for the first time. They realize they've got liner issues or they've got leaks. A lot of times what that's caused by is as the decking around the pool settles, it pulls up on the coping around the inner edge of the pool. So it winds up ripping the liner.
I see.
And so any good pool liner company will come in and say, hey, you need to get this fixed before we put a new liner in, because otherwise it's going to rip your new liner. So the homeowners will have to call us. We'll come out there, we'll relift all the concrete around the pool, and then the pool company can come in and put a new liner without worrying about the coping ripping it. So you get into that a lot, patios as well, that sort of thing.
So when talking about lifting, what are you actually talking about? Like how can Master Service actually lift?
That's a great question. So when it comes to lifting concrete or any concrete that has settled, so I always tell my homeowners, you basically have 3 options, and that's it. You can remove and replace. That is an option. You can have it demoed out, which is highly invasive. What most people don't realize is there's a lot of risk involved in that. Nothing will ever match. So if you're only replacing one section at a time, it's going to look like something was fixed. And you go to sell that home, that's going to raise a question about what happened to this section right here. A potential home buyer could be concerned about it and make them nervous about that. Same way with driveways, porches, and that sort of thing. So if you are going to demo it out, there's always the chance that you could damage whatever is next to what you're demoing out. So you've got to come in with excavators, you have to come in with jackhammers. When you are busting out the concrete, all that energy has to go somewhere. A lot of times it damages the brick next to a home if you're doing a front porch or driveway. And then you're into repairing the brick before you can ever start addressing the issue of repouring the concrete. With pools, same thing. You could damage other things around the pool, including the liner. And if it's a gunite pool, you could actually damage the gunite. So there's a lot of risk involved without very much reward when you remove and replace concrete. When you do remove and replace concrete, if you were to do that, not only is it very expensive because you have to get rid of all that concrete, so there's the disposal fee of everything, renting all the equipment, but on top of that, anybody that pours new concrete does not give you a warranty of any kind. They give you 2 guarantees. That concrete will get hard and it will crack. Those are the 2 guarantees you get with new concrete. The worst part of all about new concrete, though, is it doesn't fix the original problem of why the concrete settled in the first place. All you're doing is putting new concrete over the top of the same soil.
So the soil, if I'm understanding, will tend to collapse as it was doing before.
Yes, absolutely.
Like removing the weight and putting another weight.
Yep. And again, you've got no warranty. So if you're not going to remove and replace, then you have 2 options that are on the table for you. Fortunately, we've done them both, so we know what is the better option. There are a few companies out there, and I say a few because most people have gotten away from it, but the terms are still out there. You may have heard of called pressure grouting or mud jacking. So basically what they do in the old way of doing things in lifting concrete is you drill a hole about the size of a golf ball, so it's a pretty large hole. You high pressure pump a concrete slurry or grout under the existing concrete and attempt to get it to lift. It was problematic for us when we had it because that was all that was available. It has a high failure rate. Typically, most companies that still do it only offer a 12-month warranty on it because it usually fails 18 to 24 months after it was installed. Most people that have had the pressure grouting done have wound up having to have it done 2 or 3 times. It doesn't fix the original problem. It only fixes a symptom of the problem. The symptom is the settling concrete.
Got it.
The problem is the soil. So the mud jacking method doesn't do anything to fix the problem. That's why you only get a 12-month warranty. You're limited in what you can do with it. Very dangerous to do mud jacking around a pool because you can't control where it goes. It's designed to be flowable. They call it flowable fill.
Okay.
So there's no control when you're pushing it in at 4,000 to 6,000 PSI. So many cases it goes to where the void is, which in some cases can be next to a pool wall or the foundation of a front porch or something like that. You're pushing it under so much pressure, it could actually blow out that pool wall. It could actually blow out the foundation of a porch.
Oh, wow.
Because you can't control where it goes. So it's dangerous. There were many situations when we did the old mud jacking method that we wouldn't do certain things just because we couldn't. We were limited by the technology at the time. So the new technology that we've been doing for 8 years now, in fact, we do more of it than anybody else in the state of Tennessee, is called polyurethane expanding foam. I always tell my homeowners when they see a sample of it that I have, they look at it and they go, oh, well, that looks like, great stuff. Stuff you spray around doors and windows. It does. It's a very similar process, just a different product.
So, okay, it is a mouthful. I heard it be called polylift.
Yes.
That's how we commonly name it,
yeah,
right?
Trade name polyurethane expanding foam, or what some people call HDF, high density foam.
Okay.
It has many different applications in the industry. Originated what I had a guy that worked for Dow Chemical actually told me that it's been around since the early 80s.
Wow.
It's been used on the space shuttle program and that sort of thing. And eventually it has now trickled down to the private sector. And we use it for different things. Taxidermists use it to build busts of animals and stuff like that. They even use high density foam in furniture making, of course, insulation on walls. This particular product is specifically designed to lift concrete. That's all it's designed to do.
Okay.
It has the compressive strength of 11,000 pounds per square foot.
Wow.
It can literally lift a 5-story building off its foundation. In fact, our company has held a state contract for 2 years. So we've lifted interstate bridges, greenways, roadways, sidewalks, you name it. We've lifted 6-lane interstate bridges while 18-wheelers were going across it without ever having to close the bridge down.
Wow. Okay. So the same product
yes,
that can do this.
Yes.
That's the same product that you are recommending for homeowners.
We use the same product in people's homes. In fact, all the commercial work we do, which is quite a bit, is only 3% about what we do. The other 97% is residential. Patios, driveways, porches, pool decks, patios, you name it. Anything where concrete has settled with homes, we lift. Even interior. So where some homes are built with an interior floating slab that had fill underneath it, that slab can settle and cause cracks in the floors inside of homes. We can even lift those slabs up as well.
Okay. So, talking about swimming pools, you said that the mud slacking, or it was called like that?
Mud jacking.
Mud jacking, yes. Mud jacking. That was kind of dangerous because of the high pressure.
Yep.
So with this substance that you just called a polylift,
yes,
you said that it's so powerful it can even lift a 5-story building. So
yes,
how can we make sure that we don't lift the whole house?
That's a great question. So I get that question by homeowners a lot. It's a very good question. The best answer for that one is twofold. The first is experience. Okay, so everybody thinks that it's a 2-part liquid that comes together and you just take a gun and you shoot it underneath the concrete. That's not it at all. Just for one polylift unit that we have is about $250,000 investment. So it has onboard computers that regulate the temperature and the precise mixture of the Part A and the Part B liquids that come together. The gun itself is worth about $5,000 and have to be serviced regularly to make it work right. This is not a DIY thing.
Okay.
So it requires a tremendous amount of experience. It's one of the things that I tell my homeowners. It's one of the things that we do. It actually requires the most amount of experience because it's like an art form. I mean, to know how to get the concrete to lift is really, you need the experience of everything that you've done over the years when you encounter a tricky situation or something like that. Most other products that we do, like crawl space encapsulation, basement waterproofing, those are all pretty straightforward. Polylift is very technical. Not just anybody can do it.
So my understanding is we're gonna drill a hole.
Yep.
Like a smaller hole.
Smaller hole, about the size of your pinky. Yeah.
Okay. So a smaller hole, and at strategic locations that I guess that comes with the experience.
That's
find
it.
out where it is. And then the polylift will do the magic to basically expand. I would
Yes.
say.
So the process is, once we determine what we need to lift, we use about a 4-foot drill bit, and we drill a little bitty hole about the size of your pinky. We drill down about 8 inches into the soil past the surface of the concrete, because we kind of create a straw in the soil.
Okay.
So then we screw in a little injection port. It's a piece of plastic about 3 inches tall. And then we have a gun that connects to that port. That gun has 2 hoses that run to our truck, where there's 2 55-gallon drums of a part A and part B liquid. Those liquids are separate until they reach the gun at the point of entry. When the technician pulls the trigger, the 2 liquids meet at the point of entry, where they go underneath the concrete. The beauty is, for the first 5 to 7 seconds, it's a consistency of water. So it literally goes down that 8 to 10 inch straw that we just drilled, and it integrates with the soil. Then it integrates with the rock base underneath the concrete, and then it gets between the concrete and the substrate. So it starts at the bottom and works its way up to the underside of the concrete. After about 5 to 7 seconds, the reaction process begins. It begins to expand and cure at the same time. Expands all it's going to expand in 15 seconds. Completely curing in 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay.
Yep.
So what you're saying is, my understanding, well, first it's fascinating the whole 5 seconds, but basically what you're saying is that being water, it will literally drip and mold itself.
Yes.
In a way that no other medium can do.
No, the mud jacking method or the pressure grout can't do it. It's too thick. It can't integrate with the soil. And again, all it's doing is you're actually pushing it in under about 4,000 to 6,000 psi to create the lift. So it's the pressure that you're pushing it under that creates the lift. With the poly, it's the expansion of the foam that creates the lift.
Oh, I see.
So as it integrates with that soil and rock, it also compresses that loose non-compacted fill as it lifts the concrete. So it fixes the original problem. And because it's closed cell foam, no water can penetrate through the foam any longer to get to that soil to cause it to destabilize.
Oh, I see.
So now,
it creates a sort of a double.
Yes, insulates as well as lift. So like you were talking about in these hot summer days, now it works like an insulation barrier between the surface of the concrete and the soil, keeping the soil from drying out and collapsing again.
Wow. I mean, I wonder how many, if more people would know about this,
Oh, yeah.
probably wouldn't see a lot of do-it-yourself solution.
You would not. In fact, it's awareness that really drives everything. I mean, most of the people that call us have somebody next door that had their driveway done or their pool deck done, and they're like, holy cow, that worked amazing. I watched it happen. And it happens to me all the time. I get a homeowner to say, how'd you find out about us? Like, my next door neighbor had his driveway done. It looks amazing. I thought he was going to rip the whole driveway off, and he was able to lift it all at a fraction of the cost. The best part of all, it comes with the longest warranty you can get nationwide for concrete settlement, which is 5 years.
Wow.
Against any future settlement.
So you're telling me that for 5 years. And now, when it comes to master services, how would I know, being a homeowner, how much of this polylift do I need? Because I mean, can you guys tell me ahead of time, or it's going to be a sort of a trial? And
yeah, that's another great question. So with the poly, again, experience is key. So we have no way of knowing how much poly it's going to take, because we don't know what kind of voids there are underneath the concrete. We don't know how much rock there is versus regular backfill, because rock takes more poly, absorbs more poly than standard soil. So there's absolutely no way. No company can tell you how much poly they're going to take. What I like about our company is how we price, and that's by the square foot. So it's a closed contract. There are some companies out there that have an open-ended contract, and they give you a base price of what they think it may cost. And since they don't know, it has what's called a poundage clause. So that company has the ability to come back after the job is finished and charge you more based on how much they use.
Well, we don't like that.
And most people don't. But I always tell folks it doesn't necessarily make them a bad company. It just means that if they have to use more poly, they're going to make the customer pay for it instead of them. So I like the fact that master services in all of the basement systems companies have that set policy of per square foot. So the homeowner knows this is exactly what it's going to cost, and it's not going to cost any more than this. Even if we have to use more poly than we thought, it's not going to cost you any more because this is the closed contract price. So most people feel very comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I mean, why not? So you're telling me that this is superior to the other strategies.
Yep.
And it's going to be loss lasting. So that means that even if it costs more, eventually it's going to cost me less.
Absolutely, 100%. And like I said, with the old mud jacking method, the only thing that was good about it was that it was cheap. I mean, most people could buy the pumping system, and you can go buy the raw materials at Home Depot or Lowe's. It's not proprietary. The only problem is you might have to pay to have it done 4 or 5 times. So in that process, how much more of the concrete got cracked and destroyed once it's settled again? This is a permanent solution. The poly never washes out, it never degrades, it never breaks down. It's one and done, and that's it. You never have to worry about it again.
And peace of mind is priceless.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to know that you have a fully transferable warranty if you ever do decide to sell. We do a lot of poly for real estate because obviously there's tripping hazards and sidewalks and driveways. When somebody's trying to show a house, they don't want a potential buyer to trip over the sidewalk before they even make it to the front door.
Yes.
So we do a lot of work with real estate where we come out and level those areas out to where they can sell the home. And then of course it's got a 5-year transferable warranty that goes with it.
I mean, Chris, you convinced me. Now, I don't have a swimming pool, but if I had a swimming pool, I will totally use it.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've been doing this total of 8 years now. I've been in the poly division, like I said, for 6.5. And it's a great division because the guys that run it, which are some of our most tenured with the company, is that it's instant gratification. I mean, you get to see instant results in front of you, and the homeowners always get excited because they see the concrete coming up. They see the tripping hazards get leveled out. So I guess the part that I love most about it is how it makes people feel. You know, they see the instant value in what they have. They know they've got a product that's long-term. It's not a Band-Aid. It's a permanent fix. And then they've got a 5-year warranty on top of that.
I mean, you can't beat that for sure. Now, I didn't know all the intricacies about the water and the 5 seconds. That really left me, you know, even me working here, I didn't know those details.
Yep.
And it makes sense now that I'm thinking about, because the cables are 2 cables that connects to the gun at the end.
That's exactly right. They meet at the point of entry.
At the point of entrance, yes.
So the neat thing about that is that unlike the mud jacking method where we couldn't control where it goes, the poly has a time frame on how much it expands. So it expands, all it's going to expand in 15 seconds. So it typically only expands about 2 square feet before it begins to stop and cure. So we can control where it goes. It's controllable. So typically when we drill holes, if we're lifting, we drill holes about every 2 square feet because we want full transfer of poly. We don't want any voids underneath that concrete. So if we're doing a section at a time, we want to make sure there's full transfer of poly underneath that section where there are no voids that could possibly crack.
So now, just one thing that popped to my mind. When it comes to safety, do we have anything to say about the flammability, or if this substance can be toxic?
No, we haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. And because it is closed cell foam, it's all self-contained. Well, I have had some owners ask me about, will it leach anything into the soil? It doesn't. The poly foam, once it cures inside 15 minutes, that's it. It becomes a permanent part of the soil. It doesn't ever break down. It doesn't ever degrade. If people have ever seen, like when you install great stuff around a door or window, sometimes you can see where the great stuff begins to degrade over time. It turns like a dark orange color and starts to shrink up. That's because that particular part of the poly foam is highly susceptible to UV rays.
Okay.
So the poly that goes underneath the concrete is never exposed to UV rays because it's always under the concrete. So it never breaks down. It never degrades. And it doesn't leach anything into the soil. I have had some homeowners that were worried about plants and stuff like that next to a sidewalk. Never an issue.
Wow, that's great. That's great. I was thinking about kids running around, but now we have even plants that can be happy about this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Yeah, it's a fantastic product. It's been one of our fastest growing divisions within the company just because of awareness. More people find out that they don't have to rip their sidewalk out or their driveway, that they can actually have it fixed. So the more people that know about it, the busier we get.
Well, Chris, thank you again for coming for this first episode. Sure. We learned a lot. I mean, I personally learned a lot of stuff about polyurethane. It will help me next time I go to a job site to see with better awareness on what it is. And hopefully more people will be aware and knowledgeable about this.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to see any more of those 3, 4, 5 times jobs repeating.
No,
again and again.
We're just ready to make some more people happy.
That's sure. Thank you, Chris.
You got it. Absolutely.
Have a good one.
Yep. Thanks.